Hey, this is Ivan, and I'm gonna talk about game. And the topic of tonight's special show is how to learn game. Now, many guys goes to the dating coaches. They go to the pickup artist, and they sign up with all kinds of different classes, and they get some results, and these results are, I would say, very poor results. And why it is that? Why, with all these desires that men have and all these investments that they did in themselves by going out there and paying pickup artists, dating coaches, psychologists, and all kinds of stuff, these guys spend so much time doing game, studying game, and learning game, but they don't get results, or they do get results, but these are not the results that they really want. So now the topic of this video is what the problem is and how to learn game the proper way. So now game, I would say game, it's a skill, attitude, behavior, and a lot more. But let's simplify it for you to understand. What is game? Game is an interaction between a person and the world. This is not just interaction between the person and a woman. If this is a guy, it's not between a guy and a girl. It's not between a guy and a woman. It's not between a guy, a married husband and his wife. It's a lot more than this. So, the second thing, that game, it's a skill. Before I say it's an attitude, we're gonna go to skills, and they are with anything, as anything that is a skill. There are technical components. There are certain procedures, there are certain timings, there are certain techniques, there are certain gimmicks, and this is called skills. This is all skills, and skills in anything in life comes only through one place, through practice. So the guys go out there and they are practicing their skills, and they are honing their skills, and they are advancing their skills, but still the game is not that good, and it doesn't bring such good results. The other thing is system on the way you learn things, and this is the topic of today's video: how to get better at game. There are a few components. I'm gonna name five components to get better at game. What are these 5 components? 5 ways to get better at game: picking up girls, and gaming your wife, gaming your boss, gaming your colleagues, and there are 5 different elements. There are more, but I'm gonna talk about 5. I'm gonna simplify. So number 1, when you start learning anything, it's so-called attitude. What should be your attitude when you start learning a new skill, a new topic, a new area, or anything new in your life? When you start, what kind of attitude should you have? And the attitude should be: I'm not a follower, but I'm a student. Okay, so you have to put yourself in the shoes of a student. And then, what are the qualities of a student? You have to be humble. You cannot go to a coach and coming with the attitude that you know better than the coach, or the coach tells you something and no, I don't think this way. No, wait a minute. Why did you pay him the money? Why did you pay him the money if he's not going to teach you something that you do not know? There are so many people, they heard about something like game or a new skill, and they learn a few tricks and a few tips from here and there, and then they go to a coach. and the coach tells them, hey, this is how it is, and the guy says, wait a minute, but I think this. Okay. So now you have to assume the attitude of a student, and the student, it's a person that it's a humble person. He wants to pick up the brain of the coach more than the coach to pick up the brain of the student, because the coach has vast knowledge, huge experience, and the student got none of that. So the student should be using his ears 99% and his mouth 1%. That should be the attitude. Second element on this student attitude should be that it's a progress. As anything new, when you're a new student, you don't expect to get instantaneous results right away. You know that this is a process, and soon you're gonna get better. But in the beginning, you're gonna be a little bit slow. You're gonna pick up the ideas, the concept, the techniques, and the tactics a little bit slower. But with the time, you're gonna get better. And how you gonna get better? You're gonna stack up your skills. You're gonna start with some skills, techniques, and then you're gonna stack up more on the top. And the ones, if you have the proper coach, he will train you. If I'm your coach in game, I'm gonna train you the proper way. Now, how to learn the proper way? It is very, very important. This is 3, and this is one of these 5 elements that I said. Attitude is one. It should be the attitude of a student, an attitude of a student, and not like a regular student, but extremely curious student. The student should be always asking questions. The student should be always, if you're the student, you should be always asking questions to your coach. If you don't understand anything, you should be asking your coach, hey coach, please elaborate on this. I didn't get that concept. Can you repeat it again? Can you tell me a little bit more? Can you explain me the dynamics? Can you tell me the tactics? Can you tell me the exact words I should use? These are the type of questions that a good student should be asking the coach all the time. Now, so this is first, is attitude. Now 2 is the way you learn anything new. And I'm going to give you many examples here, because I was not only coaching game, I was also coaching a lot more skills to other people. I was coaching photography. I used to have photography company for 17 years, and I used to coach photographers to take pictures and to make money. And I used to make a lot of money, millions of dollars. And then I also train kids to break dance. Believe it or not, many years ago, when I was very young, I opened my private dance school and I was training kids. So now I want to point one element, very important element, how if you are a student, what you should do first. You should go to your coach and you should ask him to teach you the basics. So now I'm going to tell you experience of me being coach and teaching the basics in photography. So a lot of people in my company, I train like probably through all these years over 1,000 photographers, 500 photographers for sure. I train in group sessions, 10 to 15 people, all kinds of training on photography, starting from the basics all the way to extreme lighting techniques. I was a lighting expert. Anyway, so the first thing you learn in any new skill, it's called the basics. These are the basics, and they call them in the arts of training, we call them the fundamentals. The fundamentals. You cannot learn anything without the fundamentals. And before I give you an example of my life and my training in many different areas, I will give you example of one very successful person. His name is Dan Lok. So this guy, it's a rich guy. He's very young. He's an entrepreneur. You can check him out. He has a channel in YouTube. If you don't know this guy, I'm sorry for you. You should check him out, definitely. He's a very cool dude. And I was listening his videos, and he was explaining how he learned martial arts. As a hobby, he's a martial artist, so he went to his dojo to be taught how to do martial arts, a particular one. And he said that his teacher told him, hey, you're gonna start doing this kick, this punch. It's called the strength punch, and he was punching this bag for weeks and weeks and weeks, and he always wanted to go all these like a super cool jumps and kicks and this and that, the one that are impressive in the mind of a student, you know. And but his teacher told him, no, you just do this punch, you are not good enough on the punch. And now later on this video, he explained that why his teacher was trying to teach him the punch, because this kind of punch is the fundamental of this type of martial arts. That's the whole thing. This punch, the straight punch, is the fundamental. So there was other student in his group, and the other student was learning everything. He was only learning the punch for a couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. But then at the end, when his teacher told him, hey, let's go now against this guy who learned everything, but you only learn the punch. As soon as they start fighting, Dunlop knocked out the guy in the first couple of seconds, because he knew the fundamentals so well, so he didn't need to know anything else but just one punch, and that's it. And that was the idea about this. So this is a fundamental in any trade or skill or profession. They are so-called fundamentals. So now I'm gonna give you examples of when I was teaching kids breakdance. This is a beautiful example because the kids, they come to me because they saw somewhere somebody breakdancing, but this person did not impress them with the fundamentals. This person impressed them with very high complex exercise in breakdance. Let's say it's called the windmill. Back then when I was training kids, the windmill was the top exercise. So this was like very, very impressive thing. The windmill is like a very complex. It takes all your muscles. I'm gonna show you in some of the next videos how I'm doing the windmill. I was an expert. I was one of the best in my country. I was the best on the windmill. Anyway, so these kids were so impressed by this windmill, so they came to me and they say, I want to learn this, I want to learn this. They didn't want to learn the fundamentals. They didn't want to learn anything. But I knew. And I told them, hey, I told many kids like this, hey, listen, this is not going to learn it. You know, this is a complex thing. This is a very difficult thing. If you start learning it now with no preparation, with no strength in your physical, not in strength in your body, if no physical preparation, this exercise, it's so complex that you may break your hand, you may break your leg, you may break your back, you may break your neck. It's a dangerous thing if you don't know the fundamentals. So I put them on the ground, on the floor, and I was telling them, this is the fundamental to learn the windmill. This is how you do it. And I was showing them, and I told them, you got to do this for 3 weeks or 1 week minimum. 1 week, if you have this, if you know how to start the windmill, it's called one spin. If you know how to do half spin, all you have to train is the half spin. If you do properly the half spin, if you keep your leg spread and if they are stretched, you will learn the windmill 10 times faster than somebody that may try to learn it for years. Me, myself, personally, I learned the windmill for about 6 months. It took me 6 months just to learn that, to make like one round. Anyway, so the kids, they did not want to do that. They wanted to jump themselves and to learn the windmill in a couple of weeks so they can go and impress other people by breakdancing. And of course, the game is the same thing. A lot of students come to the coaches, to to the guys that train game and they want to learn a high level techniques without having the fundamentals. So now in the photography, I was training photographers, and actually I made money of that, and I was training photographers not only how to take pictures but also how to make money. And I had to train them on sales. I have my own selling technology and strategy. And when these people came in my company, they was looking at these top producers, and they was making like $500 to $700, $800 a day. And these guys, the new people, wanted to have the same results. And I told them, hey, listen, you cannot get into the sales without learning to take a proper pictures. So now let's start with the fundamentals to take a proper picture. And what is it first? First, you know how to frame. How to frame. It sounds so stupid, but most of the people that have not been doing professional photography, they don't know even how to frame a person in a picture. So I told him, hey, this is how tourists take pictures. They come here and they make the person like little small, and everything is a background. If it's a professional photographer, the picture will be the person as this video is composed. You see, I'm taking most of the video here in your screen, and the background is just an idea. You know, this is how a professional photographer shooting people would take pictures of people. You know, not like the person 10% of the whole frame and that's it, and 90% background. So, and I was very easily show them, and I told them, hey, listen, this is not a picture of a person in Times Square, but this is picture of Times Square, and accidentally a person is here. So I was explaining to the guy, this is what you have to do. You have to put the person in the front, and the background, the Times Square, should be just an idea. You know, that means in the frame, the background should be 10 to 15%. People can see the background. If you show the background 15%, people will understand where exactly it is, Times Square, you know. Anyway, so these are called the fundamentals. So now I'm going to talk about the fundamentals in game. What are the fundamentals in game? The first fundamental is this. It's called communication and attitude. And when you go to talk to a girl, you should ignore the fact that she is a girl, and you should focus only on one task. You should be able to speak freely with this girl as though she is not a girl, as though she is your best friend. Now try to work that. Try to work that. You meet a girl or a guy, or doesn't matter, you meet somebody on the street, and you train yourself on the fundamental to keep the conversation flowing as you know this person for 20 years. That is not easy, but that is the fundamental. This is one of the fundamentals. Okay, keep the conversation, and in that very important part is to keep the focus on yourself 20% and 80% on the other person. So you have to keep his attention on you, but your attention should be 80% on him. And that is called a fundamental of communication. When you talk to a person, use your mouth 20%, use your ears and eyes 80%. And that is how to communicate. So now, communication is number one. Number two, it's called frame. Fundamental. You should, when you talk to the opposite sex, if you're a guy, you should keep the girl in your frame. And that, I don't know how many times I said this through my videos, but everything is about the frame. There are so many frames. If you don't know the concept of the frames, go to some of my videos back and find the video about frame and learn everything in detail. So now, this is the second fundamental. The frame is this. It's very simple. And you gotta keep the woman through this whole conversation in that particular frame. Frame number one, a mental frame. I am a man, you are a woman. We're gonna keep it in this frame. Okay, that's it. How to do that? Teasing, flirting, nagging, compliments, all this put together. But the frame should be, I'm a man, you're a woman. And there are certain things about this to be said. I'm not here for chit-chat. I'm here because I do have agenda. And my agenda is A, to have sex with you. B, to make you a girlfriend. C, to get married for you. We should get married. It depends on your agenda. And one more thing. Your agenda should be not voiced. You should not be conveying your agenda. You gotta keep the girl in the mental state that there is agenda. But once she understands your agenda, game over. That's it. So you gotta keep in the second frame to convey with your attitude and behavior, to keep her in the frame that you are a man and she's a woman. But you should not reveal that. Do you understand? That is a difficult frame to keep. The frame of you are the man, she's the woman, and everything in the future between us, this is the narrative. This is the narrative you have to create in her head. Everything that will happen between us in the future, it will be in the same frame, that I'm the man and you are the woman. And we'll eventually have sex, we'll eventually become girlfriend, boyfriend, we eventually will have a long-term relationship, or we eventually will get married. And that should be the frame, because once you let the girl put you in another frame, game over. So now, another fundamental 3. In the conversation with that woman, you gotta stay in your internal frame. And your internal frame should be this. I'm a man, I'm an attractive man, I'm a funny man, I make jokes, I make her laugh, I make her giggle, I make her admire me. That is a good frame. And you should have this frame stuck in your head and never go out of this frame. Because the opposite of this is, I'm weak, I don't have jokes, I cannot entertain her, I cannot keep her focus on me, I cannot keep my focus on her, I'm a weak man. That's a bad frame. Or I don't know how to be a strong man, it's a bad frame. Or another, the opposite of the good frame is, I don't have any jokes, what shall I say, how to talk to her, how to move my body, how to keep myself together, all these bad stuff, all these internal memes in your head, it's a bad frame. These are so-called internal frame. Actually, I made a video about this internal frames, a separate video, and you should know what is this internal frame. The biggest frame that you have to stay in is your internal frame. In the pickup industry, this is called, this is referred as an inner game. But I'm gonna go deeper. There is a mental frame that you have to stay always on. And this is the mental state. This is the mental frame. I'm cool dude. I'm successful. I'm doing everything to my best power, to my maximum potential. Now, not in the future. Not I'm gonna do it like in next week or no, I'm doing the best I can right now. That's a very good frame. So now, this is third fundamental, to stay in your own frame and to keep the girl in the frame. Another fundamental in game is this. Do not expect results and expect the logistic not always to work in your favor. Do not expect results, okay? You have to believe in the results. You have to expect the results. But if they don't show up, look at rationally on the logistics, keep yourself cool, keep yourself as an icy man and say, hey, just did not happen today, but it will happen tomorrow. And the question is, what shall I do to improve myself for this to happen tomorrow? What kind of mistakes I did tonight or today, or with this conversation with this particular woman, and how can I self-correct myself so I don't have to make this mistake in the future? And this is how you learn faster. So now, you have to focus a lot more time on the fundamentals. When I had business, my logo, my mission statement to the world was something like this. In our company, we spend a lot of times preparing for the fundamentals. We do the business by the fundamentals. So in any new project in our company, we spend a lot of time upfront, a lot more energy upfront, without expecting any results in the beginning. And then once we do the core of any project, new project, then we excel faster. So now, that is another way to learn game faster. This will be number 4 in the form of suggestion. Spend more time on the fundamentals than you perceive to be okay. Spend a lot more time on the fundamentals than you think it's okay. Go to your coach. If I'm your coach, come and ask me how much time it takes to learn the fundamentals. And now, I can tell you that when I was training photography, once people learn the fundamentals, then for the higher level techniques, it was a lot easier for them. So this is a rule in anything that it has to do with skills and learning of new skill. The more time you spend in the fundamentals, the less time you will spend in the rest of the skill to be acquired. Now, this is very counterintuitive because people think I'm gonna learn step by step. Well, it is true, you're gonna learn step by step. But in timing, you should spend all your time in the beginning. If you don't mess up the fundamentals in the future, you will always have consistent results. Now, the other thing is the opposite, the flip side. If you don't spend time on the fundamentals, you will learn the fundamentals wrong. And then when you get to the higher level skills, techniques, tricks, tactics, strategies, you will have haphazard results. And you will not know why you don't have consistent results. And I'm here to tell you that one of the reasons for not having consistent results in game or in any other skill, it is because people did not spend enough time on the fundamentals and they moved on to the advanced techniques. And when they move to the advanced techniques sometimes works, sometimes don't work, sometimes work excellently, sometimes doesn't work at all. And why? Because these advanced techniques, they are not rooted in the fundamentals. They are not in coherence. They are not in congruence with the fundamentals. And that's right. When you go and do game, and all of a sudden you meet a girl and she goes and the first night she sleeps with you, and then you're like, you think like you are on the top of the world, and you draw the wrong conclusions because it happened by incidents. Maybe the logistics was the right time. Maybe she decided without you. Maybe you put very shitty game, but she was in that state of mind that she already decided to have sex with somebody, and you apparently happen to be that lucky guy. Sometimes this happened too. It happened to me. It happened to other pickup coaches. It happened to pickup students. It happens to everyone. Sometimes you get lucky. But if you don't have the fundamentals, you will assume that you was good at game instead of seeing the reality as it is and just say to yourself, well, I had like shitty game, but I got lucky. So now, if you know the fundamentals, if you spend a lot of time in the fundamentals in the beginning, everything else, you will advance 10 times faster. I'm telling you here, in photography and in breakdance, I spent a lot of time taking the students back to the basics. I call them, hey. And sometimes in my company, when I didn't have growth in sales, I bring my employees and say to them, here it is. We are going back to the whiteboard. We are going back to the drawing board, And now, guys and girls, we're gonna focus on the fundamentals. Let's learn, do we remember the basics? And some people that was making money in my business, when I asked them these questions, they forgot what the fundamentals are. And they was the one that had no consistent results. So, here you have it. It's 30 minutes. It's a long video, but I hope it is helpful. And now, this kind of technology, this kind of talk that I said about attitude and skills and fundamentals could be applied on learning anything new. Anything new, follow the same pattern, because I was training people on many different skills, and I trained myself on many different skills. I try to design a system for training, a system that will give predictable and consistent results. And that's what anybody wants in his life: predictable and consistent results. And that is the name of the game. So now, if you like this kind of talk, if you learn something new, if you acquired some new concept of this video, please subscribe to the channel, push the notification bell to receive new videos from me. And if you have a friend of yours who needs anything in the area of game, pickup, even business entrepreneurship, please let him know about this channel. Share the knowledge, help another man to be a better man, and enjoy the show.